After 134 years, India's Supreme Court has finally closed the file in a case that widened the gulf between Hindus and Muslims. In a unanimous judgment, the court said the Hindus have the right to build a temple in a disputed site where a mosque once stood. The dispute in the Hindu holy city of Ayodhya, considered by devout Hindus to be the birthplace of their god Ram, has led to the worst communal riots in the nation's modern history. But will the Supreme Court ruling bring closure to the decades-old conflict? Or will it again propel India onto a new trajectory of turmoil, mired in right-wing Hindu nationalist politics? December 6, 1992. A black day in India's history. Thousands of Hindu zealots chanting victory to Lord Ram pulled down the 16th century Babri Mosque in the Hindu holy city of Ayodhya. As a rally organized by Hindu groups marched towards the ancient mosque, security forces stood helplessly by, unable to control the mob frenzy. The mosque was razed to the ground in a few hours as the nation was shocked into disbelief. Thousands of people died in communal clashes following the destruction of the ancient structure. When all efforts at amicable solutions failed, including mediation attempts by eminent Hindus and Muslims, the Supreme Court stepped in, forming a 5-judge constitution bench to hear the Temple-Mosque dispute. On November 9, 2019, the court ruled that the disputed plot would be handed over to a trust that would build the Ram Temple. The Muslim groups, on the other hand, would be given 5 acres at an alternative site in Ayodhya. The historic verdict, though not fully satisfying to all parties, has been otherwise widely welcomed. Observers believe it was a watershed moment in the nation's history, and the court ruling was perhaps the only way out of an intractable dispute.
I would say the verdict is a milestone moment. Normally, the political executive should have taken this decision, but successive governments have chosen to fire off the shoulders of the court. And the courts had also at various times in the last decades shied away from taking a view, and therefore the case went on and on and on. I remember in 1994, the Supreme Court had turned down the request of the centre to decide whether a temple existed there or not. So in that sense, the court has brought a closure to the issue. Now, whether, it should have done it, whether it was just, whatever, the big thing was that it brought a closure to an issue that has divided society, divided our politics.
The genesis of the dispute goes back almost 500 years, when the Mughal Emperor Babur built the mosque in 1528. Many Hindus believe that the mosque, known as the Babri Masjid, had been built on the ruins of an ancient temple dedicated to their god Ram. The Muslims, however, reject the claim. In 1885, a Hindu holy man filed a suit in a British magistrate's court, seeking permission to build a temple a few yards from the mosque's central dome. The plea was rejected, but events took an unexpected turn in 1949, when an idol of Ram Lala, or infant Ram, suddenly appeared inside the mosque. The Muslims claimed it was the Hindus who introduced the idol surreptitiously at night, but the Hindus wanted to worship the idol. December 6, 1992 marked the turning point in the dispute, when Babri Mosque was razed to the ground by tens of thousands of Hindu zealots, leading to communal riots in which more than 2,000 people died.
The chief minister was helpless. You know, he even when the mosque started to be demolished, his instruction to the forces was prevent it. You know, go there, help people, but do not open fire. So there were 2-3 lakh people in this small town of Ayodhya, and everything just went out of control. And yes, it was a dark day. It was a black Sunday when that happened, and it wasn't just about a structure in disuse. It was really about the failure of the Constitution of India to protect, you know, to that promise that was given that this would not happen.
You see, polarization happened because some sections of society, largely in the political, and they wanted to do politics over this. And the community was made to feel that way, which was not the case actually, because nobody wanted to destroy that disputed structure. And this issue had divided society for quite some time. And those who were doing politics, they would not have any reason to do further politics over this. They have to march on, and Hindus and Muslims will stay together.
The dispute and the eventual razing of the mosque has been a turning point in the ruling BJP's fortunes. The right-wing Nationalist Party had hardly any presence in parliament until the Temple-Mosque dispute reached a flashpoint. Ram Temple became a rallying cry for the BJP, with leaders promising to build the temple if voted to power. Former BJP President and Deputy Prime Minister L.K. Advani launched a nationwide Build the Temple campaign from Gujarat in September 1990 that was supposed to culminate in Ayodhya. Advani was stopped midway and arrested. But his arrest triggered massive protests in North India. On October 30th, 1990, 28 Hindu devotees who tried to storm the mosque were killed in police firing.
The Ram Rath Yatra of L.K. Advani in 1990 September was really when they saw as a party that this could garner votes for the BJP, because there was huge response. You know, the Hinduization of the Hindu has been taking place over a period. So the BJP went for it, and we still to this date don't know who was responsible for the demolition of that mosque.
One of the key men in the decades-old legal battle is 52-year-old Iqbal Ansari. Ansari runs a small business dealing in motor spare parts in Ayodhya. Ansari's father, Muhammad Hashim, had filed the original suit in 1949 after the idol of Lord Ram was found mysteriously inside the mosque one night. But Ansari now says it's good that the dispute has finally ended, since all along politicians use the controversy to further their own interests.
सवाल यहाँ है, लोअर कोर्ट, हाई कोर्ट, सुप्रीम कोर्ट, 70 साल बीत गया, कोर्ट ने फैसला कर दिया। हम लोग भी इससे पहले भी कहते रहे कि हम कोर्ट का फैसला मानेंगे। जो कुछ भी रहा, गवाह सबूत सारे पेपर को हम लोगों ने जो है पेश किया, कोर्ट ने फैसला कर दिया, हमने उसको मान लिया। हम जो है इसलिए उसके फैसले को मान लिया कि इस जो है इधर जो है जब से मस्जिद तोड़ी गई थी उसके बाद से लोग इसमें जो है राजनीति कर रहे थे, और राजनीति करने में हिंदू मुसलमान हो रहा था। हर जगह देश में जो है मंदिर मस्जिद के नाम पे जो है लोग राजनीति करते थे, देश का लोग नुकसान करते थे। तो मैं चाहते हैं कि ये मसले को जो है कोर्ट का फैसला मान लेना ही बेहतर है, कि एक राजनीति जो लोग के बीच में घूम रही है पूरे हिंदुस्तान में, ये सब खत्म हो जाए, आपस में एक भाईचारा रहे, कोई नया।
But there are still misgivings among some sections of the Muslim community. Dr. Shaheen Jamal is the additional proctor of Mumtaz PG College that has more than 3,000 students in its science, arts and commerce faculties. It also runs 2 postgraduate courses in sociology and Hindi. Until today, the 50-year-old professor finds it hard to accept the Supreme Court verdict in favour of the Hindus.
कोर्ट ने इस चीज़ को माना कि वहाँ नमाज होती थी, कोर्ट ने इस चीज़ को माना कि वहाँ ज़बरदस्ती मूर्ति रख दी गई थी, ये लड़ाई ज़मीन की थी, मालिकाना हक की थी। क्या प्रूफ के आगे दंगे नहीं होंगे, क्या प्रूफ कि इसके बाद शांति हो जाएगी। वो तो कहते हैं हम एक ले रहे हैं, बाद में उनकी लिस्ट में तो बहुत सारी हमारी मस्जिदें। सर हमने छीनी नहीं है, वो मेरा हक था। वहाँ नमाज हुई है 49 तक, नमाज बाकायदा हुई है, उसके बाद कहा गया ये चीज़ है। तो वो चीज़ सर वही बात हो गई ना कि वो मेरा घर है और आप एकदम से 3 सदी बाद आते हैं, कहते नहीं ये मेरे बुजुर्गों का था, ये दे दो, तो मैं कैसे दे दूं सर आपको।
Jamal, like the rest of India, was waiting anxiously for the verdict. But she never anticipated the outcome and feels let down by the court.
अब बहुत बेसब्री से हम भी डिसीजन का इंतज़ार कर रहे थे ना। कितना लंबा पीरियड है सर, 92 से जोड़िए, कब आया है। तो हमने तो सुना था सब्र का फल मीठा होता है, ये थोड़ी पता था कि सब्र का फल खट्टा मीठा होता है। कम्युनिटी हमारी यही फील करती है कि हमारे साथ जस्टिस कहाँ हुआ है सर।
Jamal, however, expresses the feelings of a minority. Other prominent members of the community are supporting the judgment and would like to get on with their lives. The main litigant from the Muslim side, Sunni Waqf Board, for example, is among those who've accepted the verdict with an open mind.
This is one of the biggest case of the century, and Supreme Court has exercised its statesmanship in resolving this dispute, and a dispute they have resolved in a manner that all the parties should feel comfortable and happy. So therefore, a quietus was given to a long 135 years old dispute, and by and large, the people have accepted. I can speak for Muslims, and the Muslims by and large have accepted this verdict as the end of the issue, which has been troubling the country and the community for a long time.
The main opposition Congress Party's senior leader and former Deputy Foreign Minister, Salman Khurshid, also feels the verdict is fair and just.
I think people just want to move on, and they think that by and large, fairly equitable solution has been found. Not everybody is 100% happy or satisfied. They've expressed their disappointment, but in a very sensible way. And I think majority of the people, cutting across the religious divide, majority of the people think that this is the best that could happen in circumstances. Scholars of law may have something more to say, but I think on the whole, as a national outcome, this is something that's accepted and will gradually be absorbed into and internalized by everyone.
At the end of the day, it seems to me that neither the political leadership nor the religious leadership of both communities have been able to deliver an acceptable judgment or an acceptable compromise, which finally came through the judiciary. Though the judiciary itself seems to have arrived at a compromise which they thought would be acceptable to all sides. So it's a very interesting drama that has been played out, where the judiciary has come out with essentially a social political judgment. It's not a legal judgment. I mean, there are elements of legal, in terms of title to land, etc. But it's all about faith. The judgment says so. And it is a direction to society to accept what seems to be a compromise.
The reality is, the Ayodhya Mosque controversy has become a rallying point for the Hindu Nationalist Party, the BJP, and a focal point for Prime Minister Narendra Modi's nationalist agenda. In fact, the issue resulted in the BJP increasing its seat tally in Parliament from just 2 to 303 at present. Will the Supreme Court verdict provide a healing touch in Ayodhya, which has witnessed an explosive mix of politics and religion for decades? Or will it be the beginning of a series of efforts to turn India into a Hindu majoritarian state? Ayodhya, the city of faith. Located in the key battleground state of Uttar Pradesh that sends the largest number of members to Parliament, 80 in total, Ayodhya has played a key role in fashioning the Indian political narrative in recent years. The BJP made temple building a key promise in all its election manifestos, reaping enormous electoral dividends. It successfully positioned itself as the party that could build the temple in the city that's an integral part of the Hindu epic, the Ramayana. Today, following the Supreme Court verdict last November, many devout Hindus like Ajay Kumar Pandey feel relieved. 41-year-old Pandey and his family have been living in Ayodhya for generations. They've been waiting for the day when they can worship Ram at the new temple once it's completed.
जी सर, हमारे बाबा जी भी पहले यही सब पूजा करते थे भगवान का, और उसके बाद में हमारे पिताजी भी करते थे। वही साक्ष्य हम लोग को भी मिला हुआ है कि जो भगवान का डेली पूजा पाठ करते हैं उससे दुख और व्याधा हर वक्त दूर रहता है। सुबह में हम लोग जब स्नान कर लेते हैं, स्नान करने के बाद में घर में अपना भगवान का पूजा करते हैं। पूजा करने के बाद में पहले हनुमान जी का दर्शन करने जाते हैं। हनुमान जी का दर्शन करने के बाद में पीछे के रास्ते से निकल करके शंकर जी का दर्शन करते हैं। उसके बाद में भोलेनाथ का तो दर्शन करते ही हैं, और सरयू मैया का राम जन्मभूमि का। उसके बाद वहाँ से आते हैं, नंगे पैरे आते हैं सर। उसके बाद में आते हैं घर पे आने के बाद में चाय पानी का नाश्ता करते हैं। लेकिन 3 पुष्प तो सर चला ही गया, अब हम लोग का चौथा पीढ़ी है सर। तो हम लोग का यही उम्मीद था कि हो नहीं पाएगा, लेकिन प्रभु की इतनी अपार कृपा थी कि जो प्रभु ने अपना जैसे 14 वर्ष के बाद वनवास से लौट करके आते हैं, उसी प्रकार से सर यहाँ पे सारा काम हो गया।
Pandey runs a small electrical shop in Ayodhya. He also works as a tour guide for pilgrims and struggles to make ends meet. Pandey thinks that his fortune will change once the Ram temple is built. Ayodhya, he feels, will become a major pilgrimage centre, and all residents of the city will benefit from an expected tourism boom.
अब अयोध्या में सर जो विकास होगा, विकास के रास्ते में सर जितने दुकानदार हैं इनका रोजी रोटी सर और बढ़ता चला जाएगा। पहले जैसे हर महीने में मान करके चलिए कि 1 लाख 1.5 लाख टूरिस्ट आते थे, अब एक महीने में कम से कम मान करके चलिए सर 10 लाख 15 लाख 20 लाख भी आ सकते हैं टूरिस्ट। इससे सर अयोध्या के व्यापारियों का सर दुकानदारी भी बढ़ जाएगा, 2 पैसे का रोजी रोटी भी चलेगा। और सर यहाँ पे ना कोई खेती है ना कोई बारी है सर, ये सब टूरिस्ट का सहारा रहता है सर। टूरिस्ट नहीं आएंगे तो सर अयोध्यावासी क्या खाएंगे?
There has already been in the plan of the government, the state government, which is being run by the BJP, and the central government to develop Ayodhya as a big tourist attraction, because we call it cultural tourism, not religious tourism. Like you have the Buddhist corridor, where you have Gaya, you have other places where Lord Buddha went, or there are signs of Buddhism connecting those routes. Similarly, there will be tourism connected with the various stories connected with Lord Ram, which will be a big tourist attraction also.
One man who has been trying to find a solution to the intractable dispute for decades is a former senior government official and historian, Kishore Kunal. 70-year-old Kunal has worked with 3 former prime ministers and was involved in the mediation process earlier to find an amicable solution to the dispute. Today, Kunal is jubilant over the verdict as well.
Certainly, not only relieved, I feel myself fortunate because of 2 factors. During my lifetime, at one stage I was thinking that probably it will linger to such a long time that I may not see the construction of a temple. So this is one great satisfaction that I am feeling that I am fortunate that I will see the construction of the temple during my time. Secondly, because of the geographical position, you may find that I am in the vicinity of the Ram Janmabhoomi, so that gives me additional pleasure that a big temple will come there.
Kunal owns one of the most coveted pieces of real estate in the nation. He's in charge of the plot just next to the disputed site and has already built a big temple dedicated to Lord Ram and other gods and goddesses. Kunal says the outcome is the one sought by all groups for years.
Since 1990, when I was OSD in the Home Ministry, I was in the Ayodhya cell of the PMO, all Muslim leaders, all Muslim masses have been telling that whatever will be the verdict of the court, they will accept. So it is a consistent policy for 30 years that whatever the verdict will come, they will accept. And they have accepted it wholeheartedly in accordance with their policies for last 30 years.
About 100 kilometers from Ayodhya, in the old congested town of Barabanki, 75-year-old Shakil runs a family business dealing in exports of fabrics to different parts of India and other nations. Unlike Kishore Kunal and Pandey, Shakil Ahmad Ansari, however, doesn't feel the judgment was fair, even though he accepts the ruling.
सबसे पहले हम ये बोले हैं कि हम धन्यवाद देते हैं, पूरे थैंक्स करते हैं पूरी मुस्लिम लोकेलिटी को कि उसने शांतिपूर्वक एक्सेप्ट कर लिया, लेकिन हम संतुष्ट नहीं हैं, मुतमईन नहीं हैं, सेटिस्फाई नहीं हैं। 5 बीघा जो ज़मीन देने की बात आई है, हम कतई उसके खिलाफ हैं। ज़मीन को नहीं लेना चाहिए और वहाँ मस्जिद की कोई ज़रूरत नहीं है। ये बाबरी मस्जिद कोई विशेष मस्जिद नहीं है, तो मुसलमानों को उसका क्लेम नहीं लेना चाहिए। क्लेम का क्या मतलब? अगर वो आप उनको दे रहे हैं, उनका राइट समझते हैं, अदालत समझती है कि ये यही हक है तो दे, लेकिन फर्दर इस इशू को क्लोज करने के लिए यही है, अगर इसके नाम से कुछ भी बन जाए, मस्जिद ना हो, ये हो कि ज़मीन दे दी गई मस्जिद के नाम से, वहाँ यूनिवर्सिटी बन जाए, वहाँ कॉलेज बन जाए, वहाँ मेडिकल कॉलेज बन जाए, तो आगे आने वाली नस्लों को भी चुभता रहेगा कि यहाँ हमारी मस्जिद पर लोगों ने कब्जा करके और हुकूमत की साठ गांठ से अदालत ने मस्जिद से हमको बेदखल कर दिया और हमको अलग जगह दे दी। इसके हम विरोध में।
Despite holding a contrarian view, Shakil Ansari is confident of communal harmony prevailing in the crowded town.
मुस्लिम भी है, नॉन मुस्लिम भी है, सब मिलजुल के रहते हैं, बिजनेस भी एक दूसरे से करते हैं। बाराबंकी ज़िला हमेशा से जो है शांत प्रिय ज़िला रहा है, डिस्ट्रिक्ट रहा है और आज भी शांत प्रिय है। यहाँ के लोग आपस में भाईचारगी के साथ रहना चाहते हैं और रह रहे हैं।
But will the centuries-old dispute be finally buried following the court ruling? Will the BJP now find its Hindu card no longer relevant in an aspiring young India? There are concerns, however, that hardline Hindu groups will be emboldened by the verdict. After the temple comes up in Ayodhya, they might demand more temples where mosques are standing. Will such demands gain momentum, pushing two communities towards another precipice again? The dream of building a temple on the ruins of the 16th century mosque has been the point of convergence for hardline Hindu groups in India. Their aim is to create an imaginary Ram Rajya, or Ram's country, named after one of the Hindus' most revered deities. But now that the temple has been promised by the court, they're asking for more. There are further rumblings about the existence of mosques in the holy cities of Mathura and Varanasi. They believe that these mosques also came up on top of demolished temples centuries ago. The temple movement has coincided with the rise of a Hindu nationalist party, the BJP, which seized power from a left-of-centre Congress party that ruled India for over 6 decades. But the main outfit that was at the forefront of the temple movement is the hardline group known as the Vishwa Hindu Parishad, or the World Hindu Council. The 47-year-old General Secretary of the VHP in Uttar Pradesh, Bolendra, has been associated with the temple movement since 1990. And even now, Bolendra is not prepared to make any compromise that his organization will not raise demands for the construction of new temples in places it regards as sacred all across India.
विषय मथुरा काशी का नहीं है. हम किसी भी धर्म के स्थान को, किसी धर्म के व्यक्ति को हम किसी भी प्रकार का उसकी उपेक्षा नहीं, उसका विरोध नहीं, उससे परहेज नहीं. हमको उससे परहेज नहीं है, लेकिन हमको अपने से मतलब है कि जिन धर्म स्थानों को हमारे किसी ने कब्जा कर लिया, उसके पूरे प्रमाण हैं, उसका पूरा रिकॉर्ड है, वो हमको मिलना चाहिए. जिन भाइयों को हमारे किसी ने छीन लिया, किसी ने जो है धर्म परिवर्तन करा लिया, उनको हम वापस करना चाहिए.
Some believe that the Ayodhya temple could be just the beginning of an onward march by conservative Hindus to change India's secular character, a move that could potentially raise fresh communal tensions in the country.
मेरे भी तो सेंटिमेंट्स का सोचिए सर, बात उसकी नहीं है. वो कत्ल गारत जो हुआ था वो तो गैर कानूनी था सर, और बहुत बड़ा गुनाह था. लेकिन उससे बड़ा गुनाह हम बार बार इस चीज़ को करने कि ये आज ये कह रहे हैं कि ठीक है, तो आपकी लिस्ट में तो मेरी बहुत सारी मस्जिदें हैं, आप रोज़ तोड़ेंगे, आप कहेंगे इसकी 3 गुना ज़्यादा एकड़ ज़मीन तुमको दे देंगे. सर वो हम क्यों करेंगे?
हमारी तरफ से ख़त्म है, मुसलमानों की तरफ से ख़त्म है. अब ये नॉन मुस्लिम का हक है कि वो इसको ख़त्म करें. उनसे मेरी अपील है, रिक्वेस्ट है कि हमारे हिंदुस्तान को हिंदुस्तान रहने दें, हमारे भारत को भारत रहने दें.
The concern of the Muslims is not about Ayodhya at all. It's beyond Ayodhya, because the Hindutva movement has not given up claims on the other temples, on the other mosques.
Some observers believe that the issue will continue to be politicized by some hardline groups from time to time, shifting the country further from its secular foundation.
If hardliners decide that they want to tear up the constitution and the court says you can't do it, I would pity the court, because the court can't go out and enforce a decision of that kind. Society itself has to do it, the establishment has to do it, and therefore a question of that kind, that will the hardliners still take the law in their own hands elsewhere, I think that is very important. Why the opportunity of closure that has come and the near closure that we've got from the judgment should be endorsed and should be consolidated by everybody.
All extreme sections of all communities will never stop reviving any of these issues that divide, because their entire movement is based on perpetuating divisions, right? So I do not expect any extremist group to say, we are retiring now, closing our shop, and all will be fine. No, they will all continue to have some issue or the other that keeps them alive. I don't see that, but the question really is whether the mainstream, political mainstream of this country will come back to focus on what are the real problems. And I think that is already happening. We are seeing in election after election, the issues are once again becoming economic issues, livelihood issues, inflation, employment, corruption, access, clean air. I mean, these are all the issues that are the real issues of the day. So, for a brief period of time, religion may enter politics in a big way, but I cannot see how it will perpetuate itself.
The Supreme Court has assured the minorities that this won't happen again, that the Ayodhya temple destruction was a one-off event. The court has ruled that all other religious structures are protected under a special law.
Fortunately for Muslims, and unfortunately for those hardliners, Supreme Court has thought of it and taken care of this aspect. They have given a very good judgment on the 1991 Protection of Places, Religious Places Worship Act. There they have said that this judgment, this is a commitment as a part of the basic structure of the Constitution, which even the Parliament has to think much before fiddling with. So therefore, that issue I think has been taken care of by the Supreme Court in its judgment.
Even the ruling BJP has come out to assure the other minorities that the recent ruling on the temple site will not create a chain of events that will affect the status of other sacred sites.
When the Places of Religious Worship Act was passed, this was one exception. And we have said that we had spoken only about Grand Ram Temple. We have not spoken about any other temple. So status quo would stay on all those things. It was only Grand Ram Temple that was in our agenda, and there is no reason to fear otherwise. We'll allay those fears. And now it's time that we should march ahead.
For now, however, they're just focused on building a grand temple in Ayodhya. Preparations are already in full swing. In fact, work on building the temple never stopped over the last 2 decades. After the mosque was demolished in 1992, and before the court delivered its ruling, the VHP had engaged a temple architect to design and finalize the plans. And the sourcing of materials began. Hundreds of tons of red sandstone were transported to Ayodhya. Numerous craftsmen and artists were employed to carve out the temple pillars. Now almost 60% of the temple structure is ready. Once the temple trust is formed, as directed by the Supreme Court, construction of the new temple will begin immediately. And it will be ready much sooner than expected.
3 लाख गांवों में हम भगवान राम की भव्य मंदिर बनाने के लिए एक शिला, हर गांव से एक शिला का पूजन, पूरे गांव के लोग मिलकर उसका पूजन किए। सवा रुपया एक धन अर्जित किए भगवान राम की लला के उस मंदिर बनाने के लिए। वह शिलाएं और वह धन यहाँ अयोध्या पहुँचा। राम जन्मभूमि न्यास अयोध्या उस भगवान राम की उसको बनाने के लिए गुजरात के सोमनाथपुरा उसे एक नक्शा उसका बनाया, प्रस्तावित मॉडल बना। वह प्रस्तावित मॉडल उस 3 लाख घरों में वह पहुंचा। उस नक्शे के आधार पर ही पत्थरों की तराशी आज चल रही है।
I think the temple should be constructed very fast, and at least the sanctum sanctorum of the Ram Lala ji, Lord Ram, should be constructed within a year. Temple construction of the big temple may take years. I don't mind, but in Treta Yuga we are Astik. We believe in Ramayana. So in Treta Yuga, when Lord Ram was born, he was in exile for 14 years. Here it is going to be 28th year of the Lord's stay in tents. So in 28th year he should have a good sanctum sanctorum. So sanctum sanctorum should be built immediately.
The Ram Temple movement in Ayodhya has already achieved its goal, but bigger challenges are facing the nation. India's economy is on a downward slide, and citizenship issues have driven a wedge between the Hindu and Muslim religious communities. Still, the larger question is, where is India headed? Will the dramatic rise of Hindu nationalism overshadow India's secular character? India is a country of diverse faiths, ethnicities, cultures and languages. Hindus make up the largest majority of the nation's 1.3 billion people, or roughly 80% of the population. Muslims, on the other hand, form a significant minority of around 200 million people, or about 14% of the population, followed by other large religious minorities such as Sikhs, Buddhists and Christians. As a secular country, the Indian government grants equal rights to all religions as enshrined in the country's constitution. But the dramatic rise of Hindu nationalism has raised fears and insecurities among the minorities in recent years about growing intolerance, as well as social and religious exclusivism among the country's highly diverse population. Modi and the BJP have repeatedly said that they stand for all Indians, regardless of religion, caste and ethnicities. But fears among minorities have persisted, somewhat deepened by stray incidents of mob lynchings by extremists in various places in recent years.
कि हमारा फ्यूचर ही क्या होने वाला है सर? हम अपनी डेमोक्रेसी के लिए डर रहे हैं, हम अपने कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन के लिए डर रहे हैं, हम हर चीज़ के लिए डर रहे हैं सर. सर आज़ादी के लिए डर रहे हैं. आज़ादी का मतलब क्या है? हम सही से बोलें. भाषा की अभिव्यक्ति कहा गया ना, तो उसको भी तो बैन लग रहा है धीरे धीरे.
Look, the Prime Minister has been politically correct from the day he assumed power. I don't think one can fault him on anything, in terms of his statements. Even when lynchings took place, he criticized it, even though he may have done it some weeks later. And people said, had he done it earlier, a message would have gone clearly. Or had people been punished suitably, again, a deterrent message would have gone. But that apart, the foot soldiers behave very differently.
Modi has kept 3 of the BJP's fundamental promises since coming to power. The government has passed a law banning triple talaq, or instant divorce, among Muslims. It has ended the special status for the state of Jammu and Kashmir, and is also close to building a Ram temple. Tens of thousands of Muslim migrants are also at risk of becoming stateless in India after they've been excluded from India's new citizenship exercise, sparking fears of mass deportations. But one of Modi's key agendas is to take the country on a high growth path. However, his development agenda is in sharp contradiction to the demands of the hardline Hindu right wing. He's now caught in a major dilemma of trying to fulfill the demands of his core support base and take the country forward on a higher growth path. At the moment, India is facing a deepening economic crisis. Its growth rate has slowed down to less than 5%, and there are doubts if it can reach 6% in the next financial year. Many now believe that the government has finally woken up to the fact that quick measures are needed to pull the economy out of the rut.
I am not yet ready to use the word crisis. It's a challenge, it's a deep, significant challenge to the country. After all, the rate of growth, even if it's not 5%, which is what the central bank has said yesterday, even if it is 4%, which is what many people claim, it is still not negative. Certainly, it's a matter of serious concern. And what we have really is a problem, one, of confidence, and 2, of competence. There's a sense of enough is enough, now focus on the economy, you need to revive growth.
There's no reason to panic about that. The country is aware, the government is aware of the situation, and it is applying correctives. It's not that we are saying we will not do that. And this will happen, we are very confident. As I quoted you, the GST figures is a very, very positive sign. It's not a one-time exception. It shows business activity is picking up.
About 100 kilometers from Ayodhya, fabric exporter Iqbal Ansari in Barabanki, is concerned about the country's future. He's unsure where the country is headed under Prime Minister Narendra Modi. He hopes the government would focus more on improving the country's economy instead of being obsessed with temples and mosques, since poor people are suffering in the country.
देश का गरीब आदमी और दुखी हो रहा है, गरीब हो रहा है। नोटबंदी, जीएसटी से सर्वसाधारण बर्बाद हो गया है। छोटा बिजनेसमैन, मिडिल बिजनेसमैन आज कर्जदार हो गया है। रोटी के लाले पड़े हुए हैं साहब, और चंद फैमिलियां हैं उनकी कई सौ गुना प्रॉपर्टी बढ़ चुकी है, और हमारी बच्चों की पालने की क्षमता खत्म होती जा रही है। गलत नीतियां सिर्फ बड़े लोगों के लिए। सरकार का काम ना मस्जिद बनाना होना चाहिए, ना मंदिर बनाना हो चाहिए, ना मस्जिद गिराना होना चाहिए, ना मंदिर गिराना होना चाहिए। सरकार का काम रोड बनावे, एजुकेशन की अच्छी फैसिलिटी दे, हॉस्पिटल बनावे, जो ज़रूरत ज़िंदगी की चीज़ें हैं वो हमको आसानी से मिल जाए।
I think it's already happening. I think people are beginning to talk about economics. The American election expression, it's about economic stupid. I think that's beginning to happen. There will, of course, be attempts to derail us from that path of discovery and that path of demand to some puerile issue, sentimental, emotional issue about religion, etc. But I don't think that's going to work. I do believe that people know that there's nothing left of this, and that you cannot repeat the same thing over and over again.
But many observers believe that Prime Minister Modi's rise to power in 2014 has emboldened Hindu nationalist groups in the country. And that has raised fears among some Muslims in particular that the demands of these Hindu groups and Prime Minister Modi's policies are chipping away at India's secular constitution.
In fact, the government of the day, led by Prime Minister Modi and the Sangh Parivar as it is referred to, have made their agenda very clear, that they believe that that India's Hindu ethos should be strengthened, it should be supreme, and every other community should accommodate itself to this agenda. The concern is that there is no substantial discourse to back it. Since 2014, that you find the invention of a new approach and a new discourse, much more aggressive, much more strident, and much more demanding.
Others, however, are of the view that the current state of India's economy has forced the government to think of other ways to appease its main voting bloc and its core supporters.
Because of the downturn in the economy and the huge challenges that the government run by BJP is going to face, the temptation to go for other kinds of issues will be very strong. And the BJP also has to contend with its extreme fringes. And we've seen that time and again.
We have secular institutions. The police is a secular institution. The law is secular. The parliament is secular. The election process is secular. But politics, because it is about one's life, is never secular. So forget about religion, caste. People vote for caste affiliation. It is not a Hindu nation. And this term Hindu nationalism is a very Western media term which I'm afraid a lot of us in Asian media are using. It is nationalism in which the majority are Hindus. My idea of secularism is that governance is secular, but politics is not. And you have to make that distinction.
We are a majority Hindu country. I mean, you can't get away from that fact. And if you're a majority Hindu country, then there are certain features which are integral and intrinsic to Hindu culture. Call it Indian culture, Hindustani culture, or Hindu culture. And that has intermingled with other cultures as well, including Islamic culture. But India's Islam is very different from Islam anywhere else in the world. People talk of Wahhabi Islam coming to India and influencing Indians, etc. But that's only in pockets somewhere. But there is an Indian Islam There's a Islamic culture of India that's come down from the times of the Mughals. It's Islamic and yet it's Indian. All that put together is what the Indian identity is all about. But I think it's only fair to say that the Hindu culture is and must remain a dominant part of India. But dominant part does not mean dictatorial part. Dominant part means inclusive, participatory, collective.
India is at a crossroads. In its desire to reach its economic and development goals, it has become embroiled in Hindu nationalist politics, a move that could potentially threaten its pluralist roots. It's also battling to protect the country's secular principles, which regard all religious groups as equal before the law as enshrined in the country's constitution. Today, even as protests rage over the citizenship law which excludes Muslim migrants from becoming citizens, demands from vocal Hindu nationalist groups continue to surge in line with the rise of Hindu nationalism in the country. Can Prime Minister Modi steer the nation on to a higher growth path, taking all communities and diverse faiths along?
I think there are people who are raising voice which are against the basic structure or secularism, which is part, and the try to make a dent on the social fabric. But I think the people have enough power, and the society is much resilient to rebuff them very strongly. I think I am very hopeful that even if somebody raises a voice like that, there would be much more louder sane voices to counter that.
There is no reason why we can't live in peace. We have lived peacefully there, and we understand we must respect each other. The country has to be governed by the constitution. This is a new India. We are now desperate for faster growth, for faster development. So the government is responding to that need, and we should think more about economy and development. Religion is a personal affair, and it should stay that way. This has stayed that way in this country, and that is the beauty. And we are very confident that we have been a shining example of secularism, and will continue to do so.